Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today to talk a little bit more about credit reports, scores, and credit cards. Hopefully today we can answer a good number of your questions. I'm going to go ahead and get us started. My name is Sarah Scruggs. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist at Harvard University Employees Credit Union. And I am presenting today and answering any questions that you might have. We have gone ahead and muted everybody on the call, so that way hopefully you can hear me and you can continue doing whatever you need to do during this time, whether that's eating lunch or taking care of any children in the background on summer break. That is totally fine. We don't want this to stagger any of the conversation though, so please don't hesitate to use the questions or chat feature. You'll see this on the right-hand side of your screen or at the very top of your screen. If you could for me, please let me know where you're joining us from in that questions or chat feature. So number one, I can know you can hear me. And number two, I know that you know where the chat feature is. So if you could let me know where you are joining us from today, in the questions or chat feature. That way I know you can hear me. All right, great. Looks like we have somebody joining us from Boston, Somerville, Cambridge. Okay, great. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Harvard University Employees Credit Union is Harvard's not-for-profit financial institution, and we are a not-for-profit financial institution that works within our community, specifically the Harvard community, including all of you on this call today from DFCI. We are so glad to have you as a part of our field of membership. We have products and services ranging from checking accounts all the way to credit cards to home loans, boat and RV loans, and we are accessible everywhere via our mobile app and our online banking. So if you have any questions about joining or being a part of our membership at the credit union, I'm happy to answer those questions, or we can have a conversation via email afterwards as well. Now to really jump right into our topic today, which is about credit. This is really a foundation of what we're going to talk about, and it's built basically on how credit works. So how is credit kept up with? What is it showing us? What is that information that we need to know to continue working towards a great credit score? First thing we need to talk about is how is credit impacting us? It's probably not impacting us every single day of our lives. We are not constantly thinking, what is my credit score? We don't have to check in with it every single morning, but it is something that impacts us when we decide we need to borrow money or possibly find a new apartment, or even if you're in a job kind of like mine, getting a job. We need to think about our credit score for those times in our life. And having a higher credit score can save you money in the long run. This example you're seeing on the screen is from a 36-month car loan. We did all the calculations on myfico.com, and this is a car loan for $25,000. And so you'll see here that as the credit scores go up higher, the interest rate is lower. And that is really good news. Makes our monthly payment lower, makes the additional cost in a year lower. But really the big news here is that it saves us money after paying off the entire loan. The difference between someone with a 540 credit score and someone with a 740 credit score is about $5,700 in this example. I know a ton of things I would much rather do with $5,700 than pay it to a bank for paying for my car. And I know all of you on the call today too have those thoughts in your mind as well. So it's important that not only when you're thinking about your credit score, you're thinking long term, especially with things like possible auto loans or times when you do need to borrow that money. And I do want to point out too, right under the title of this, if your credit score improves after getting an initial loan, there could be an opportunity to refinance. So don't say, oh no, my credit score is a 600. That means I'm going to be stuck here for all 5 years or 36 months of this loan. That could not be true. We could get a higher score and then refinance and save a little bit of that money over time. So what is credit exactly? It is utilizing money now that you need, paying for something such as education, a car, a home, and paying for over a period of time. Things that aren't credit, your income-based funds, so anything in your checking account, that is not credit. That is your money that you have in the bank. Savings accounts are not credit. Those are all just yours. Credit really is when you go to borrow money for something that you need now and you're paying it off in the future. There are three major credit bureaus that really hold all of this information together, which are Experian, TransUnion, Equifax. And they don't have all the same information on every single consumer. There are some lenders who will only send information to maybe one or two of the bureaus because it does cost money for them to send this information. So you may find that only Experian knows that you took out a personal loan with a very small local bank. And that's okay, that's not a problem. But know that each of your reports could look a little bit different. So what type of information do they collect? They collect it from people who lend you money, number one. They collect it from possible utility companies if you've been sent to collections, court, and there could be others that get this information as well. All of this information is tied directly to our Social Security number. So if you are a United States citizen and have a Social Security number, that is what your credit would be tied to. And it is based on individual consumers. So even if you get married and file your taxes jointly, you still have separate credit accounts and credit reports. So me and my husband have separate credit scores, credit reports, all of that. So what is shown on a credit report? Debt, so any debt that you continue to owe is shown up on a credit report. Any account openings, so such as credit cards or let's say you opened an account to get a car loan, that will be on there. Anytime you've been sent to collections, so if you have been sent to collections, you will know, you would get notice of that. And your payment history will also be on there. This is extremely important to remember, is that payment history is one of the most important things on your credit report in general. Making sure that you have on-time payments is one of the most important things you can do for your credit. So a historical view of on-time, but also late payments. So even if you only made one late payment and it was 2, maybe 3 years ago, it may still be on your credit report. You can request your credit report for free via annualcreditreport.com. This is the only source for a free credit report that is authorized by the federal government. There are many sites where you can request a credit report, and they are totally fine to use. This one has to provide you one for free each year. During COVID, though, they are providing them for free weekly until April 2022. We're glad that they've extended that. Maybe it's something that will continue in the future. Do I think you need to check your credit report every single week? No, probably not. If you're waiting to borrow money, that may be a good thing to do. But if you're not planning on borrowing money in the future, like within the next month, then maybe you only need to check it about once every 3 months. That's about when it updates for everyone. And you can check each of your reports one at a time. So you can pull your Experian maybe this month, and then 3 months from now you can pull TransUnion. So you can see about any of those changes that may have occurred. It's good to pull your credit report for a few different reasons. Number one, it keeps you informed. Number two, it keeps you informed just in case there has been any identity fraud or anybody who's taken a loan in your name, and we'll get to what to do if that's happened. And it keeps you up to date on about what your credit score should be. But this is different than a credit score. This is a full credit report. So what does a credit report look like? This is from the side of a lender. So this was pulled by us at the credit union on one of our members. Of course, all of the information is taken out. And so please know that this is what it looks like from a lender perspective. So this isn't exactly what it looks like for you all once you pull a credit report as a consumer, but this is what it looks like as a lender pulls it. So this person has a credit card with the credit union, and we see here that their credit limit is $5,500. Their high balance, which that tells us when they've spent on their credit card, what was the highest balance that they carried on that credit card at one time? We don't know the date of this high balance. We don't know if they've paid it off in full. We don't know any of that information, but we just know that the high balance was extremely close to their credit limit. And I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it is extremely important to keep your balances low on your credit limit and to not use 100% of that credit limit. But we see some good things on here too. We see that this payment history has been paid on time every single month. That C means current. So they've been current on their payments every single month. That is really good. Making sure that you're current on your payments is extremely important. They have not been delinquent on their account at all. And that's very important that they've not been delinquent. One other thing to note is that their current balance that you see here can be taken at any time. At any point in time, your credit card company will report to the credit bureau what your current balance is. It's not the day after you pay that balance. It's not the date after your balance is due or any of that. It is just a day that the credit card companies will report this. And so it's important to keep that current balance low if you're able to. Now to look at another piece of a credit report. This is a piece of a credit report from Comcast. So this person on their credit report, they have something on there from Comcast, which we all know Comcast is a cable company, an internet company. So why is that showing up on their credit report? They've actually been sent to collections by Comcast. And this can happen for folks. For this member in particular, it actually happened because she was living with roommates at the time. The Comcast bill was in her name, and she moved out maybe a month. I would say about a month if the amount is $310, maybe 2 months before her roommates did, and they ended up not paying the bill or not closing their account like they said they would. And so you see here that she's been sent to collections for $310. That's a pretty low amount to be sent to collections for. And when she found this, she immediately paid it off and all was well. But she has been late on this payment for quite some time by the time she does get sent to collections. So the status date, it opened in 2015, and this balance date is a year later. So that means that she's been late on this payment for almost a year. And so these accounts are delinquent, they're past due, and her current balance is still $310. So the good news here is that she can pay this off. The collection will go away. It will still be on her credit report unless she requests that it be taken off. And you can do that. They may or may not take it off for you, but it's something to remember is that you can be sent to collections for as little as $310. And that could be holding back your credit score. So check in on your credit score, check in on your credit report, see if there's anything on your credit report that just looks off. Maybe it's, oh, I never knew I didn't pay that bill. I thought I closed that credit card, but it was still being charged. Those are things that you need to look out for. So what stays on your account and for how long? The smallest amount here is going to be credit inquiries. This is something, let's say that you apply for a credit card, it will be on your credit report for 2 years that you've applied for that card. It's not going to be on there for very long, but know that the one that stays on there the longest is open accounts in good standing. So if you have an open account, it will be on there until you decide to close it. Also, bankruptcy stays on there for quite some time, and anywhere in between from 7 to 10 years. There are many things that can stay on your credit report. But like I said, if there's something on your credit report that you would rather not have on there, there is an opportunity for you to reach out and just ask, is there any way that I can get this taken off of my credit report? How to dispute errors on your credit report. Like I said previously, there is a possibility that there could have been, number one, a human error. Sometimes when folks go to apply for loans, they may tell somebody, this is my social security number, and that person may type in one number off, and that number off could be your social security number. So do know that that happens. There's human error, and those things are normally taken care of extremely easily. There could be an error on there from a time when you applied for a credit card and didn't receive that credit card, but it looks like, oh, it looks like they have an account with these people. That may not be the case, so you want to get that taken care of. So what can you do? There are 3 things that you can do. First is contacting your lender. That's what you see in the middle of the screen. And I really want you to know that this is the most important thing you can do. You'll see on your credit report that it says who the lender is. Reach out to them if there's an error. Say, hey, this wasn't me, and I can prove it to you. Want to make sure it's all good. And make sure that they have recorded all your payments. So if it's a missed payment or something of that nature, make sure that you have the receipts to back it up. Contact the credit bureau if necessary. It has to be in writing, so don't just call. It must be in writing via email, letter, things of that nature, and the bureau has 30 days to begin investigating. This doesn't mean your investigation will be done in 30 days. It means that it will begin within 30 days. And a lot of times these investigations do take time. You may need to follow up and check in. Make sure you do that. Make sure that you're the one advocating to correct these things, because at the end of the day, we ourselves are our own advocates when we think about errors on our credit report. So make sure that you're looking out for these when you do receive that credit report. So what do you do if your information is compromised? If somebody has gotten your social security number, we know these days there are people out there fishing for our information constantly. So what do we do in this situation? We can do 2 things with our credit. One is a fraud alert. A fraud alert lasts 1 year. So this happens, I know I've set up a fraud alert. It's free to set up. What happens is, okay, somebody has access to my information. I don't know that they've used it, but I feel like somebody has access to my information. So I'm going to go ahead and freeze my credit. You would contact each of the bureaus to place an alert on your account. And now each business that you lend money from has to go through extra steps to identify you to make sure that you're the correct person. So I've used this before when one of my passwords to one of my accounts was leaked in a data breach of some sort. I made sure to set a fraud alert because I didn't want anybody spending money through my account. It was one of my credit card accounts. And so I've set that up and I haven't had any issues with it. I've been able to identify myself and get those additional questions once they've used my credit. And then a credit freeze is different because a credit freeze is lasting until you stop it. And in this, folks can't see your credit at all. So when you go and ask for a lender to lend you money, you will have to pause the credit freeze so that they can look at your information, and then you would set it back up afterwards. So this lasts until you turn it off. And this would be something that you would place by contacting one bureau, and they would do it for all 3 for you. So this is more in the case of, you know, somebody has gotten a hold of your credit and you want to place a freeze, and you're not looking to lend money from folks in the next year, 2 years. So that's all about credit reports specifically. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about credit scores. And one thing I want to point out is that Credit scores and credit reports are two different things. Your credit report is a lot like your transcript in school. So let's say that you have, 5 different classes that you've taken. Your teachers write information in your transcript. You know you got an AA, B plus, C, D in your classes. But then your GPA is just that, 3.5 number. It doesn't give you any context around it. It's just a number. And that's exactly what we're looking at here. Your transcript is a lot like your credit report, whereas your GPA is a lot like your credit score. And so thinking about managing our credit score, we'll have to think about, okay, well, how can I do better with my credit report? How can I get context from that to continue doing better? And I did see a question, can you still check your credit report if you've frozen your credit? You can, but you will need that PIN number. You will make a PIN number when you set a credit freeze on your account, and you will need the PIN number to check your credit report. So that's a very important PIN number. Keep it safe and make sure that you remember it. Thank you for that question. And I see another question as well, but we're going to talk a little bit about that question in just a moment. So wanted to make sure I got to these few slides first. So what is a credit score? Like I said, these are independently managed. They are not managed by credit bureaus. These are managed outside of credit bureaus by two scoring entities, FICO and Vantage. And a person asked a question in our question box that there seem to be so many options and my scores sometimes look different if I get them from different places. And that could be because FICO and Vantage have two different scoring models. So we can have two different scores on us. They may be very close, they may be within the same range that you see on the right side of your screen, but they may be pretty different. I mean, a 740 is pretty different than a 650, but they would be in the same range. One could be a FICO, one could be a Vantage. They just take two different things into account. And I will show you those in the next slide. But the most common range of scores is between a 300 and an 850, with 850 being the highest. Anything above a 700, I would say, is pretty good. Like I said, two different scoring entities. FICO is the one that's used most in the United States. I know from my credit card company, which is where I get my credit score for free, mine uses Vantage. Vantage up until this point has been used about 10% of the time when we get our credit score, and that percentage is rising. Many companies are starting to work with Vantage. They feel that it's a better scoring model, or that company may just be partnered with Vantage in some way. I know one of my credit cards does FICO and one does Vantage. They are different scores, but they're not too far off from each other. So what does the FICO score take into account when coming up with this 3-digit number? The largest and most important is payment history. Like I said while we were looking at the credit reports, this is one of the most important things that lenders see. And it makes sense, right? If we lent one of our friends money and they never paid us back, we wouldn't want to lend money to them again. But if they paid us back on time, they came up with a plan and they said, every month I'm going to give you this amount of money back, and every month they paid that back on time, and just as they said they would, we're much more likely to lend money to them. So that payment history is 35% of your score in FICO. Your amounts owed is the next largest piece of the score. What does this mean? Let's say that, I know this happens, this is a real life situation, when you get a student loan and the student loan amount is put on your credit report, normally that's a good amount of money. So your score can drop briefly because of that. Because they're seeing, oh wow, they needed to borrow this much money. That may not be so good when they have to pay it back. But normally you can recover from this. Your score will fluctuate a little bit. When you initially take out those loans, you may see it fluctuate a little bit then. But as you continue paying it off, your score will get higher. This also has something to do with credit cards. Like I said, it is important to utilize your credit in a way that works for you, but it is needed to be used in a smart way. Let's let's take the person who had their credit report on here before. She had an HUECU credit card with a limit of $5,500 a month. She used almost all of that 1 month. And really what lenders are looking for is that you're utilizing 30% of that credit limit or less. This can be extremely difficult. The most normal credit limit that you'll see is about $10,000 on a card. And so to use 30% of that is only $3,000 a month. And so you'll want to keep it 3,000 or below to have a really good use of credit utilization. And that's an important piece of our score as well. So know that amounts owed is important too. The last three are each only 10, 10, 15% of our credit score. So yes, they are important, but they're not going to be the ones that we see really holding us back by a lot on our credit score. Length of credit history, unfortunately, this one we can't do much about now that we are in the working world and adults. This is dependent on, okay, I can see that they've been paying things off for 20, 30, 40 years. That's good news. And this person only has 5 years to look back on. You may trust the person more who's been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years. Then we'll see credit mix. Credit mix is having both a standard or installment loan, which is going to be mortgage, student loan, car. You're paying off the same amount every single month, as well as revolving credit. Revolving credit is you're paying off a different amount each month, and that's going to be your credit cards. So credit bureaus like to see that you're paying both on an installment loan and a credit card or revolving account. Am I telling you that if you want to boost your credit score, now's the time to go out and get an installment loan if you don't have one? No. If you don't need to borrow money, there is no need to go and borrow money. I say that quite a bit. So in my name right now, I have no installment loans that I'm paying off, but my credit score has not gone down because of that, because I'm paying on time with all of my revolving accounts. New credit, again, this is not me saying go out and get some new credit. It may not help your credit score to go out and get new credit because that will impact amounts owed, which is much higher, right? But when they see that you've applied for new credit, they may boost your score a little bit, but it's also possible that it could go down because they don't like to see too many credit inquiries at one time. This is something I want to point out too. Let's say that you are looking to get a car. You want to shop around for the best interest rate, which I absolutely encourage you to do. Within a 2-week period is when you should be shopping around for that interest rate. Because if multiple lenders need to pull your credit, if they do it within that 2-week period, it will only hit your credit score one time. So within a 2-week period, if you're applying for a loan and you want to shop around for the best rate, do it within a 2-week period so that it only hits your credit score one time. Let's say you're applying for multiple loans, you're applying for a student loan and a car loan at the same time. Those would be 2 different inquiries because they're 2 different types of loans. But if you're just looking for a car loan and you want to talk to 3 different lenders and they all need to pull your credit score, ask them to do it within a 2-week period so that it only hits your credit score one time. Now talking a little bit about Vantage. The most influential on Vantage, they don't give percentages, they just give kind of most influential to least influential on your score here at Vantage. And so one is payment history. Paying all your bills on time is so important. And that just continues coming up. Highly influential is age and type of credit. So they're saying it's a little more influential if you've been borrowing for quite some time. percent of credit limit used. Like I said, this is wanting to be 30% or below on your credit cards. The total balances in debt is actually a little bit less here on the VantageScore. And then the least influential is available credit and recent credit behavior and inquiries. So if you have a lot of accounts open all at one time, that may not be so good. Here's a couple of sample credit scores, and I'm going to go through these quickly, but what I do want to point out is that you have a score factor description. For myself, I know when I get on my credit card app and it says you have a new credit score available, it will tell me, okay, it's gone up 2 points. Well, why is that? It will give me score factor descriptions. They won't be in these terms specifically, but they will go along the lines of your ratio of balance to limit on your bank revolving accounts is looking good this week. So they'll say things like that, and that helps put into context the score. So you see here that this score is 488. It is a lower score, but that doesn't mean that they can't get it back up. Some things they can do to make their credit score higher, they can see if they can work on those delinquent accounts. They have multiple accounts with delinquencies, which means that they haven't paid for quite some time, so they're not on time with their payments. Once they get those delinquencies worked out and paid in full, their credit score will go up. And making sure that they are keeping their limits on their revolving accounts or credit cards low. This one is a more middle of the road credit score, 656. So what are ways that they can make their score higher? Right here is the most important one. Derogatory public record or collection. So they have a collection on their account because they're not currently paid as agreed. Once they currently pay that as agreed, so they get up to date on making sure that they're paying this, their score will go up. It's not as important that they get a credit card because you'll see the top score factor description and the bottom score factor description say they don't have a revolving account. That's okay. This is not the time to go and get a credit card because it seems that they need to pay off this collection first. And the last one, we want to show you this one as well. A 748 is a pretty good credit score. There are still score factor descriptions. I'm pretty sure that even if somebody had an 850, which is a perfect score, they would still have score factor descriptions because I think credit bureaus truly believe that if you can, if you can make your credit score better, you should. But at a point in time, we only need this to borrow money. It doesn't tell us anything about our values as people or our personalities. This just tells us, okay, they would be good to have someone borrow money from. So for this one, they need to make sure that they pay their accounts as agreed. So their payment history may not be the best. That would be a great way to get their credit score up. Do I think it's important to go out and get an installment loan now? No, not really. They need to go and pay their accounts. That's the most important thing that I can see here. So what are some options to improve your credit score? The one I'm actually going to start with is number 3 on this list. One-on-one financial counseling is the most important way that you can take the step of improving your credit score. Because someone like Green Path Financial Wellness can actually take into account your credit history specifically. They can look this up and they can talk to you about what would help you specifically get a higher credit score. I can't do that. I don't know your credit history. I don't know about what accounts you've had, what accounts you don't have, but a one-on-one accredited credit counselor can do that. And so that's something that we'll speak about on the next slide. But the 2 other options here are possibly getting a secured or unsecured credit card. So possibly what they would call a credit builder credit card. This is normally for folks who've never had a credit card or don't have a credit score at all. Here at the credit union, we don't do secured credit cards. but we do make sure that we help any of those people without a credit score with getting a possible unsecured credit card. Special loans, again, credit builder loans. Some financial institutions do have these credit builder loans. And this, again, would possibly be something that you could use if you have multiple debts. So probably ranging anywhere from like 4 on up from that, where you could possibly consolidate it into one loan or debt consolidation loan. This could be a good option for those of you who are looking to consolidate that debt a little more. But like I said, probably the most important one on that list was number 3, and I'll get to GreenPath's contact information towards the end of our show today. Someone did ask, what's the best way to get one's credit score for free? There are so many ways, and you're exactly right. There seem to be so many options, and you're not sure which one's the most accurate. Here's the thing, a credit score is a snapshot in time. So the accuracy of this will look different at different points in time. And you never know when you're going to borrow money, whether they're going to pull a credit report from Experian, TransUnion, Equifax, or just one of those, and whether they'll be using the FICO or the VantageScore. So what I can say is that they should be about in the same range, your Vantage and your FICO. The best way to get your credit score for free is if you do have a credit card utilizing their app. Most credit card companies at this point in time offer free credit scores with their credit cards. At the credit union, we do offer free credit scores with the credit card, and we are hoping to add that on as just a membership benefit for everyone who has an account with us, no matter if they have a credit card or not. So that is coming by the end of the year, which we are looking forward to. But like I said, most credit card companies at this point in time do offer that. I know mine, I actually have 2 different credit cards and they both offer that. And I like to just know that I'm about within a certain range, and that's good enough information for me. But probably the most accurate will be whenever you go in and apply for the credit in that moment in time, that will be the most accurate. But like I said, you can get them for free that way. You could possibly use an app like Credit Karma. I know some people use that, but probably the most accurate way is by kind of getting multiple streams of information and seeing what is that range that you're in. So choosing a credit card. I just talked a little bit about credit cards there for a way to get your free credit score. The most important thing to think about when you are choosing a credit card is going to be probably the most boring information that you get with your credit card offers. You'll see this. It's the interest rates and interest charges, as well as the fees schedule. This is required to be included by law with every single credit card offer that you receive. It is normally its own separate paper. It is normally black and white. It does not talk about rewards at all. It talks specifically about interest rates. And so you'll see here that this interest rate is pointed out. This is for one of our credit cards at the credit union. It has a 0% interest rate for the first 12 months. After that expires, it's anywhere between 11.74 to 18% based on your credit score. So some folks will be charged closer to the end, about 12%, while some folks may be charged up to 18 or 17.99%. You may be looking at this and saying, oh my gosh, 18%, is that accurate? This is actually pretty low for a credit card. My own personal credit card is about 24% on interest. And so for me, when I was looking at that, I knew, okay, this is the credit card I'm going to be paying off in full each month so that I don't get that interest charge. And then possibly another credit card where I don't have to pay it off every single month because that interest may be lower. So make sure that you're looking at those interest rates before you agree to a credit card. Also look at the fees. A lot of great rewards cards come with an annual fee. That's totally okay if you know you're going to be spending enough to get the rewards back from that annual fee. I know that I have one card that has an annual fee and one that does not. And so I use the one that does have an annual fee to get rewards that I know will outpace the cost of the annual fee. It's also important to look up if you're going to be constantly traveling out of the United States, foreign transaction fees could be an issue for you. These are all important things to look at. We know that the rewards are part of the flashy. They're the ones you want to pay attention to. There's a reason that this is kind of the most boring piece of the puzzle. And it's because some people just don't look at it and sign up before they know these things. We especially want you to look at the interest rates and fees when it comes to things like a store credit card. Whenever we go up to a cashier, we are always offered a store credit card, almost always. I know Target, Ulta, Macy's, Nordstrom, they all have credit cards, and a lot of times their fees and interest rates are extremely high. So make sure that you're looking out for this if you do decide to get one of their cards. If you no longer wish to get credit card offers in the mail, you can go to optoutprescreen.com and actually take yourself off. So let's say that you're like, you know what? I have all the credit cards I need right now. I'm good to go. You can put yourself on this list so that you're no longer receiving those offers so that you don't have to shred them every time you get them. I know that's my biggest complaint about credit card offers is I have to shred all of them. And so this can be a good way to save a little paper and save some of your time. But do remember, if you do opt out, you will not be getting these offers anymore. And so if you do decide to get a credit card, you would then have to seek out that information on your own. Like I said prior, getting that one-on-one counseling, if you are trying to raise your credit score, is one of the most important things that you can do. And through the credit union, because you're a part of our community, we are offering free financial counseling through our partners at Green Path Financial Wellness. The credit union pays for this service so that you don't have to, because we find it so important to making sure that our community is financially well. And they are accredited credit counselors there. They talk on the phone. This is a service that you can do over the phone. They talk in multiple languages. They're open until 10 p.m. We know that DFCI, you may have different hours that you work. They're open until 10 p.m. during the weekdays, and they're open on the weekends 6 days a week. So that's wonderful. So please do check out their financial counseling if you're looking for ways that you can up your credit score, or if you're looking for budget or COVID-19 counseling as well. The credit union has a blog that we keep up to date 3 times a week. We write different articles ranging from, talking about credit scores like we did today, to some that we're putting out soon about moving in costs for college. So we hope that this blog is a good way for you to learn a little bit more. And you can subscribe to the blog on that page, and you'll get an email once a month with our top stories from that month. That way you don't have to check in on our website every week or anything of that nature. You can just get it sent right to your email. The credit union does have a credit card if you are looking for one. It is the Platinum Rewards Plus. This is our new credit card. It has 1.5% cash back on all of your purchases. And this is a really simple card. So it's that kind of card that you can use everywhere you go. You don't have to use it as kind of like, I know one of my credit cards, I only use at specific stores because that's where I get the most cash back. But this one is kind of one of those use everywhere cards. No annual fee, and that's always something good to look for as well. Like I said, these are all just a general overview. What's most important is that hopefully we gave you a good foundation for you now to go and do a little more of your own research for you so that you can up your credit score if that's something you're looking for. But now you're more informed moving forward. This is not tax advice or legal advice or investment advice. And you should always consult somebody who is accredited and has specific knowledge of your situation. We've come to the end of our presentation, but I want to see if there are any more questions. We had some good questions earlier in the presentation. This is all of our information here at the credit union. please know that we are here to help you, whether you are a member or not.